This shows paintings from 1968 to 2020. That's good. That's a good swath. Anyone who is a painter or a writer or a poet, the big question is, what are you going to paint? What are you going to write about? There's 1,000 different ways you can do that. And for a long time for me, I would create symbols, but I didn't know what they meant. And a lot of people asked me what I was doing. I pushed in different directions. But when I actually started to really work in earnest, all of a sudden, things started to emotionally make sense. The motivation behind the work was coming from an expressionistic sensibility, which I had developed very early on. The first painting I ever painted was at university, and it was very expressionistic. But when I moved to Sweden, it was very important that I was in the right country, which had a tradition that was good for me. It was really great to be there. There was a whole change in the way I looked at things, and I got to understand what I was trying to do. And the other question was, are you going to paint landscapes? Are you going to paint anti-war political stuff? Are you going to paint what the dealer tells you to paint? And so I decided the only way I could handle all of this was to paint me, if that's the right expression. That's a good way to look at it. I didn't relate at all to French or Italian imagery, for example. And so Edvard Munch and Emil Nolde, the two, well, let me say it another way. The most important influence was Nolde, not Munch. It's because of his attitude towards what he did. His nature was to paint who he was and all of the crap that he had gone through. Whereas Nolde was a colorist. And the color was really important to me. I think Munch is more about line, Nolde is more about color. But I didn't want to paint just like Nolde. I wanted to paint me. So why not do that and find my own voice? A Subway 2, it's very much a Nolde type of color range. I used to work at a graphic shop, and we would work there late at night, and the only way to get home was on a subway. In the subway at midnight is kind of a rough place. People yelling at each other and all of that. This was my way to kind of express that. And what you see here is an old lady and a young woman reacting to this character that's on the other side. They're kind of anxious, and that person on the other side is just as anxious about them. So, but it didn't take very long for me to push in the direction of abstraction. And I don't know why that was, because I didn't have any abstract expressionist in the American style influence at that time. But abstraction seemed to me to be more open to expressing the kinds of things I wanted to express. And so, over time, things became more and more abstract. Some of the black paintings, which the presence of those paintings, for example, the painting Sentinels at the Gate, that's the kind of painting you have to see when you're standing in front of it. And the same with Titan. Titan needs to be seen and experienced the way it is. Its size, its impasto. One of the reasons I did a whole series of black was that our daughter was suffering from cancer at the time, and I guess it just affected my psyche a great deal. So there's Island. I worked on that one quite a long time to get that simplicity. I'm not really into landscapes, but every summer we've been going to an island, to Sweden. So on an island, there's a different kind of sensibility. It's a mixture of kind of being standoffish and alone and all other kinds of feelings that you don't have on a mainland anywhere. And then maybe I've captured the loneliness of being on an island. I don't know. I think that is one of my favorites for sure. There are two paintings in the show. One of them is Deliverance. And that whole thing is around COVID. The deliverance part was at the end I just wanted to convey how we were all feeling. That was back 2020 in May, sometime in there, and that everybody was just feeling terrible about a lot of things. And I wanted to capture that in those tones and in some way convey that there was still some kind of hope. There was still some kind of light at the end of the tunnel. And being able to understand that this too will pass. I don't really know what these paintings mean, but I know that they come from some kind of emotional and intellectual necessity. You have to just do it the way you think you need to do it. It's always a search. And so people will say, well, didn't you ever find the symbol?